So have you ever asked yourself this question? What was I made for? Why on earth am I here? Those are great questions. Welcome to this weekend's Connections. Let's get rolling. From the time that I became a youth pastor, one of the things that I looked forward to at the end of every school year was graduation, of watching those who had been in our youth group walk across that platform. Well, this year was a little different for me. This year, I not only got to watch the youth from our church that I've gotten to know and to love walk across the platform. In fact, over 20 of them this year graduated. But among those 20 was my granddaughter, Morgan, who reached her 18th birthday in May and then graduated from high school. And of course, I'm wondering, where did all the time go? But one of my great passions in life, of course, are teenagers, this generation, of raising them up and seeing them become true men and women of God. And last night here at our church, I had the opportunity to speak to our teenagers. And I brought them a message that actually I've repeated several times to them. And it was along the lines of, you were made for greater than this. You were made for greater than this. Now that's a message not just for our teenagers, not just for our graduates. It's a message that I want to point at you today. I don't care where you are in life or where you are on your faith journey. Maybe you're another pastor who is listening to this. Maybe you're the pastor of a mega church, and maybe you have thousands of people who come to your church, and you've experienced many great things of God. I can say to you honestly, you were made for greater than this. I think about those disciples, as they watched Jesus do these miraculous things, as they watched him go up to blind people and touch them and they could see him. He walked up to people who were lame and he touched them and they could see. I just imagine being there at the tomb of Lazarus as Jesus said, "Lazarus, come forth." And Lazarus rose from the dead after 4 days of being dead. Imagine what it was like for them to watch those little loaves of bread and fish be multiplied and feeding of thousands of people. Imagine what it was to watch Jesus do what he did. And then imagine yourself sitting maybe around a campfire with Jesus one night. And he looks at them and he starts telling them, "Because I'm going to the Father, even greater things than this will you do." Greater things. If you were one of his disciples in those days and you're around that campfire, wouldn't that just blow your mind? Wouldn't you just go, wow, imagine that? Shouldn't that be how we react to that same statement today? Because over 2,000 years later, Jesus is still desiring to do even greater things than that. I think we settle for so much less than what God has in store for us. Used to have a lady that attended our church. She moved on after the hurricanes, and she moved over into the middle of the state. Who can blame her? But she used to say to me, "Oh, honey, that person is living so beneath their privilege." So using those words today, I want to ask you this question. Are you living beneath the privilege? Are you living beneath the greater things that God has in store for you? The reality is this: when we go about living our life out on a daily basis on our own and our own strength and our own wisdom and our own power, we are absolutely going to miss the greater things. In Ephesians chapter 1, Paul writes to the church at Ephesus, and he talks to them about this very thing. He focuses them on this one thing when he says, and this is how Eugene Peterson paraphrases it in the Message, he says that it is in Christ, it's in Jesus, that we find out who it is that we are and what it is that we are living for. And he goes on to say that long before we even heard of Christ, long before we even got our hopes up, he had his eye on you and on me, and he had designs on us for glorious living, part of the overall purpose that he is working out in everything and in everyone. If you're a follower of Jesus, you are one of the everyone, and so am I. And we are challenged to live our lives out by living them through Christ on a daily basis and Him living it out through us. And His promise is still true today that even greater things will you see, greater things will you do because I am going to the Father. Never forget this. Jesus sits at the right hand of the Father interceding for you and for me. I think it's time that you and I believed Him on His word and on His promise that even greater things, and I believe that it is time that we step out into that. We get out of our comfort zone. We get out of our belief system that it's up to us. If it's got to be me. No, if it's going to be, it's got to be Him. It's all about Jesus. It's all about Him. And so would you take this challenge today to say, God, whatever it is you have for me, I want to step into that. I want to stop with my small thinking. I want to stop with the smooth knees that I've got. I want to wear the kneecaps out, believing in you, trusting in you, praying to you, because even greater things are in store for you. God bless and have a great weekend.